Hey everyone, my name is Wedge. Eldritch Moon has brought a whole new standard full of spells and quellers to quell them, and still collected company. Actually, the standard's weirdly similar to the last one, just with more quelling. Anyways, Eldritch Moon brought with it a few goodies for the budding Delirium strategies that we were hoping to build back in Shadows over Innistrad. For this deck tech, we'll be using TCG player prices so you can see what each card would cost you in real time. If you want to see the deck list or purchase any cards on it, you can do so by clicking on the first link in the description. Super easy. Without further ado, let's get our Delirium on, shall we? There are a lot of Delirium strategies that don't actually focus on the mechanic itself. They're more green-black control that use a few Delirium cards. This particular list is somewhere in the middle. There are plenty of Delirium synergies, a few cards that wouldn't be in the deck if Delirium didn't exist. But there are also just good black-green cards. I feel like that's how this deck is supposed to be built. You take some staple black-green value cards, add in your Delirium spells, and go nuts. We'll begin with the lands. For non-basics, we're running 4 Hissing Quagmire, 4 Llanowar Waste, and 3 Evolving Wilds. The black-green lands make sense because we are 2 colors, and getting our colors is important. The Evolving Wilds is to help our Delirium count by getting a land in the graveyard, it's simple as that. Add in 7 Swamps and 6 Forests, and you have our 24 land mana base. Moving on to our creatures, we'll begin at the bottom of our curve with 3 Gnarlwood Dryad. The Fair Nimble Mongoose is the first of many cards that benefit from having Delirium. Turning your 1/1 for 1 into a 3/3 for 1 is not bad. While this is definitely one of the least exciting cards in the list, it does have a job. Having Death Touch allows it to be a wall against a ton of ground-based strategies, and once the +2/+2 kicks in, it dodges a decent amount of -1/-1 base removal. It's a good filler creature, good early game blocker, and good Delirium payoff card. It's perfect for this deck. Moving to the 2-drops, we'll begin to see the generic good black-green cards. We're running playsets of both Den Protector and Sylvan Advocate. Sylvan Advocate could possibly be one of the best cards in Standard right now. It's incredibly consistent, has inevitability, has late game value, and is easy to cast. There's no reason not to run it in any green deck, really. Den Protector has always had value. While we are trying to get Delirium, we're talking about a deck that expects cards to be in the graveyard. Sometimes sacrificing Delirium for a turn or 2 is worth it to take care of something you really don't like. Den Protector gives you options, and in Magic, options are important. That's serious value here. Our last 2-drop is Grim Flayer. This is one of the all-stars of the deck, hands down. Love this card to death. In playtesting, the Flayer was a nightmare to deal with. 2 mana for a 2/2 with Trample is it's fine. That first ability, whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you get to mill up to 3 from the top of your library. You can fix Delirium, draw whatever you want. It's like Scry, except you mill what you don't want, and that's the Delirium dream. Add in Delirium itself, making the card a 4/4, and you have the perfect card for the deck. Talk about pushed for Standard. Yeah, this is that. You can mill things for Den Protector, Delirium, mill what you don't want to get what you do want faster. Grim Flayer is easily one of the top 3 cards in this deck, hands down. Moving up the curve, we move back to the general good green-black stuff for a second. 4 Deathmist Raptor in the deck for a few reasons. First, the synergy with Den Protector is undeniable, and I wish it was played more. They're dirty together. Second, it synergizes with Delirium. You put the Raptor in the bin with your Grim Flayer, use your Den Protector, and you get it back for free. You don't even have to play it the first time around. That's awesome. So much value. It's a great card to include purely because of the easy recursion and synergy in the graveyard. Onto 4-drops, we get into our really intense Delirium payoff cards. These are the cards that make this deck a Delirium strategy. 2 Mind Rack Demon. It is impossible to deny that this card needs a dedicated Delirium strategy. Without Delirium, the card is straight unplayable. It's really not good. 4 mana for a 4/5 with flying and trampled is excellent. And you get to mill 4 right off the bat, also great. The problem is that without Delirium, you're smacking yourself in the face for 20% of your starting life total at the beginning of your upkeep. That's not sustainable. Maybe if you're close to winning, you can take a hit or 2, but it is not viable for long-term success without Delirium active. With Delirium, this is one of the more powerful creatures in the entire format, honestly. The demons are really strong and well worth playing in this deck. It's very good. Our last creature, and probably the coolest one we're running, Ishkanah Graph Widow. Oh yes. We're only running 1 copy, much like many of the other Delirium lists that have popped up so far, and that's for a few reasons. Without Delirium, this card is even worse than the demon. It's a wet noodle if I've ever seen one. With Delirium, hello board presence. It is 5 mana, so you don't want too many in the deck. 1 is the perfect number. Ishkana is the ideal blend of playable and hilarious, sometimes even requiring removal spells for the 1/2 spiders that you create. Don't underestimate the power of a 3/5 and 3 1/2s for only 5 mana. That's lots of board pressure. Lots for your opponent to answer. Great card, but do not overdo it in the deck. You don't want this card when you're really behind and don't have Delirium. Just definitely not. With the spider, that brings us to 22 creatures. It's a safe number considering we're trying to diversify our card types to make Delirium easier to reach. So far, we've filled 46 of our slots with creatures and lands. It's pretty standard. That leaves us with 14 slots for other card types. We have 4 other card types. Oh yeah, we're going deep here. We'll begin with the removal suite that spans 3 different card types. 4 Grasp of Darkness, 3 Ruinous Path, and 3 Deadweight. In the current standard environment we live in, both Grasp of Darkness and Deadweight, while being pseudo-specific removal, have very specific uses in both Shine and Standard. One is an instant, one is an enchantment. That adds 2 more types to our Delirium counter. Ruinous Path is a 3rd, adding in sorcery and unconditional removal. With these 3 cards making up 10 of our slots in the deck, there isn't much we can't deal with early in the game. This is a proven removal suite, it's solid stuff. The last 4 cards in the deck, Liliana the Last Hope. I know this probably upsets some of you, but come on, Liliana is amazing and basically meant for this type of deck. Her +1 is great removal at best and a way to dampen incoming damage at worst. Fantastic for a deck that is a bit on the slower side like ours. Her -2 is where she really shines though. Mills 2 and then you can return a creature to your hand. Best part, you don't have to return a creature. So you can leave your Deathmist Raptors in there if you want to. More milling is good and Liliana does it while staying alive to threaten her +1 in the future. Based on how we're playing Liliana, you'll never use her -7 because her -2 is just leagues better, so I won't even talk about that. Listen, I know you all want budget decks all the time, but Liliana is really good. And if you want this deck to be the best it can be, you're gonna need the Queen of Zombies. If not for her abilities alone, for the fact that she adds to Delirium herself, and that she provides a secondary life total to attack to help keep you alive longer. Just saying, she is strong. Let's go over what we're trying to do here, then talk sideboard. Green-black Delirium is a combination of a control-style strategy plus a self-mill deck. You have your solid green-black cards that create a good foundation for your deck, like Den Protector, Sylvan Advocate, Ruinous Path, Grasp of Darkness, and more. Then, using those solid green-black cards, you can give yourself some reach with the Delirium package based on Grim Flayer, Mineract Demon, Gnarlwood Dryad, and Ishkana Graf Widow. Your goal is to stay alive until one of 2 things happen. Either 1, you get Delirium online and outvalue your opponent with crazy cheap and effective Delirium cards, or you attrition them out with your removal package plus Den Protector, Deathmist Raptor, and Liliana. Your deck is about abusing your graveyard, so you always want to be casting your Grim Flayers before your Sylvan Advocates. You want those cards in the graveyard as fast as possible. It's just something to note. If we look at possible sideboards, there's a lot we have to be ready for, but most of those decks either have Spell, Queller, Collected Company, or both. We're going to prepare for that. Aerial Volley is dirty right now. Great sideboard card, you're going to want at least 2 of them, probably more. More Ishkana are also pretty annoying against flying-based strategies, so that annoying Spirit deck you keep seeing, not a bad addition there. When it comes to other ground-based strategies, Kalitas is beyond powerful, sideboard staple as far as you should be concerned. It's great on the ground against basically anything. If you have them, I'd sideboard at least a pair. You're really forcing your opponent to have some type of hard removal for it. After all of this, you have your usual sideboard plays like Transgress the Mind and Duress for control variants, Seasons Pass, ramp decks, you get it. Lots of blank decks like Humans, but also lots of decks where these disruption cards will work wonders. I'd put at least 5 to 6 of them total in your sideboard. Don't want to be out disrupted, that'd be embarrassing for you. And that's going to do it for this standard deck tech. Green-black Delirium is a really cool strategy, and while a graveyard deck like this isn't something that I'd normally play, I can't properly explain how good it feels to Grim Flayer, then Liliana into Delirium. I can't. I could try, but it wouldn't work. Let me know what you think about the deck. What would you change? Also, let me know what decks you want covered in the future. We're in the middle of testing a lot right now, so please let me know what you want. Lastly, if you want to see the list, check the first link in the description. It's right there for your viewing/buying pleasure. As always, subscribe for the latest and most reliable Magic the Gathering information you could ever need. This is the Manosaurus, I'm Wedge. Thanks for watching, we'll see you next time.